guys, it's me. I'm back.
What's up, party people?
We're like, Max, come on. All right, this show is taking a turn for the.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Monster Bass Live. I hope you guys had a really great Memorial Day weekend. I did, and my face will prove it to you that I did. Not quite sure how it happened, but I did fall over in the backyard trying to get a big bundle of wood, and I think my face had to pay the price. It's funny, true story. I just remember walking back and Raphie looking at me and goes, "Why is your face bleeding?" I said, "I don't know. I fell over trying to get the wood. I'm not sure if I stepped in a hole or what I did, but literally, and this is not an alcohol-induced injury. This was literally me just walking to the wood pile, coming back all bloodied. Silly. I can't even make this stuff up." We got a great show for you today. Chris and I are going to be talking about epic summer fishing destinations, locations. We might talk about some of the baits in the box. We're going to take some of your calls. We will not have Raphie in the chat. Raphie is taking care of one of the three little ones that he has. I mean, they're little, but not so little, you know. But if they don't drive, they're little. So, you know, he's got somewhere he needs to be. And so we're going to have the show without him. We were going to have Bethany in the chat. We want to send big warm wishes to Alex Rudd and the family. His mama's not feeling so well, and you know, boy, that guy's had quite a year. You know, I mean, he really can't seem to catch a break, and so I'll send him lots of love and positive wishes. We're probably going to talk to Gramps today because he just called me, and he's got some exciting stuff going on. But first, you know how excited I am when it comes to celebrating wins. And today we're going to celebrate a few people. And, you know, if you haven't had an opportunity to share one of your recent catches with us from the Memorial Weekend, hopefully you got a chance to go out fishing. But if you didn't, you know, now's your chance the weekend's upon us. It's time for you to step up and step out and wet a line, but we're gonna celebrate a few people. So let's head over to this week's trophy room submissions. And our first catch today is from Anthony Goodson, 9 pounds, 9.8. Let's just call it 9 pounds 1 ounce. Call it on a chatterbait. I want to look and see that catch. That's a pretty great catch. Next up is Michael Cleary Morgan out of New York. Tough to see, but he's got an 8.2 pounder on a spinnerbait. And then we've got Colin Leary, 4 pounds, 14 ounces on a swim bait. Good job, buddy. And then Dennis Van Meenen, 7 pounds, 2 ounces on a rattle trap. That's a beast. That's a beast. He's not even, you know, he's not straight arming that one. No, you can see the bend in his elbow. That's a beauty. That is a beauty. And finally, Bruce Allen. 7 pounds, 5 ounces on a spinnerbait. Congratulations, Bruce. All right. It's tough where I'm sitting today. I'm not going to lie because my son is back. And he took over the back house. And so, you know, I spent all this time and money there in the first course of the year while he's at school and make this place nice and neat and clean, repainted, got some furniture. My son's been back 2 weeks. He came home, dumped everything on the floor, left for Korea, came back, and the stuff's still on the floor. This place is a disaster. And he's got giant monitors everywhere because you'd think he was a professional gamer. He's not. But last night, I'm sitting in the front house watching TV, and I hear this roar. I walk back. I'm like, "Are you okay, or did you have, like, a seizure or something?" He's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "I heard you yelling and screaming." He's like, "Yeah, I'm yelling and screaming at the computer." I'm like, "Wait a minute. don't your headphones like have a microphone? He's like, yeah. I'm like, so when you're yelling like that, you're yelling in the ears of all your friends? He's like, yeah. I'm like, no wonder when all you guys are around, you guys just sit and yell at each other. You can't hear each other. Anyway. All right. I can't see a darn thing. And it's really driving me a little crazy because I can't see Chris. And it's really tough right now because I'm staring at a bunch of giant monitors. So, that would be helpful. Thanks, Fixie. I can at least see a little bit. Great, good stuff. So we got a great show for you today. I'm going to man the chat, so you're going to have to bear with me. I'm pulling double duty, and because Bethany's with the family today, and she's doing her duty, taking care of Alex and his mom, and doing the things that all good families do when tough times come up, and we wish them all the best. So let's do it. Let's do me a favor. If you're watching this live, give me a thumbs up. If you're not, and you're consuming this wherever you pick up your favorite podcast, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button. That's going to help us out a lot. So so let's just jump right in, and I'd love to talk with Chris and see how his Memorial Day weekend went. How was your Memorial Day, man?
It was good. It was hung around the house, did a lap around the lake. Kelly and I went paddle boarding and just let the fishing to everybody else. So many people. We were last week talking about pressured water. I don't know if you could get more pressured than what we had out there. Sure. It was crazy. And boat wakes and water skiing and people on tubes. And I don't know what it is, what happened to fishing. People talk about COVID and then the die off and the calming down, or maybe not as many people fishing. I've never seen more people fishing at a local lake where we're at than Memorial Day. So it's cool. Yeah. It's great to see. It was fun. I went out fishing the last couple of days, and we'll talk about this a little later with summertime and where the fish go and what my theory is. But yeah, Memorial Day was good. We had family. My kids, I don't know about your son, like you're talking about yelling and having fun with his friends. Yeah. We had I think there were 9 high school kids over, and we made hot dogs, hamburgers on hot dog buns. They ate through so much food, and beans and root beer floats and chips, and an absolute blast for the kids. But man, they're loud. I don't know if I was that loud as a kid. But,
that's because you're out in the woods somewhere on your bike 9 miles away from the house. And nowadays, kids can't do that.
And they're on their phone next, like you said, they're on their phones, or it's fun when they all play these games and they've got, the multiplayer consoles. And it's funny. You talk about all the screens in our living room. We have the jumbo TV, but then my daughter brought up her own TV screen so then she can play video games with her brothers in college in Utah. And they're all yelling and they have headsets on it. And it's like, oh my word, I don't know I have no idea. I can't even turn on my own television. Yeah. And they've got multiple screens, different game consoles, and they're all playing at the same time. So pretty cool to see it happening. But kids these days, it's a wild world out there. That's for sure. But Memorial Day was good.
Yeah, it was great. We had a big party, a big barbecue, and I had so many people that I was not going to try and barbecue, so I hired the taco guy to come so that I could actually enjoy my own barbecue. And my son had like 20 of his friends over, and I had I don't know, I had a lot of people, and we had a really great time, and it was fun to just have like a weekend to kick off the summer, or what felt like the kickoff to summer. Right. And then, I took the scouts on Saturday, and I promised for everyone at home watching, we're going to talk about fishing in a minute. On Saturday, I took the scouts to the National Cemetery, and we planted flags in front of all the graves. And they encouraged you to, as you stood there, to plant the flag, read the name on the stone, and then take a moment of silence with each one. And I got to tell you, I've done this, 6-7 years in a row, and it never gets old. It's still like I'm bawling in the middle. I could do 100 of them, and every single time I'm just sitting there and it's something you just can't take for granted, and it's so important that the kids know that it's not just about celebrating Memorial Day, right? It's about,
Right.
you know, in memory. And
Right.
I was grateful that we got to do that. So
That's cool. No, it reminds me, I had a Scoutmaster moment years ago. We took a bunch of kids and we spent the night on the USS Hornet.
yeah,
And
I've done that.
when I was doing, the graveyard service, I had to stay up all night. And then the security, I was reading a book about Pearl Harbor and one of the survivors of his experience during Pearl Harbor while I was on the USS Hornet. And that feeling, that reverence every time it comes. I mean, I didn't serve in the military, and there's just this no understanding without doing it. But reading that book while on a ship with the scouts and recognizing we're able to do the things we do because of the sacrifices of so many people. So I appreciate you bringing that up, because we all talk about the fun things we did and this great life we have and the crazy kids and the loudness. We have all of that because of those people that have given so much. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't know about you, but I was having a conversation with Raphie before I left, and I was like, you know, we sit here and we talk about fishing every single day, and we never get out. And I said, you know, Chris doesn't live that far. And, you know, I'm like, we need to just get in the car.
Get up here.
Drive up. And let's go fish. We'll go fish for, even if it's one day. I said, Raphie, even if it's one day because you can't, you know, take time away, and no problem. We need to make this happen. And so I think that we need to make a commitment that by like next week, we've nailed down dates. And because I feel like we should be stopping to see T-Rex and fishing there, and then coming up to see you. I mean, it's one of the greatest fisheries in the planet, right, pretty close to your backyard. I mean,
I could throw a rock across to the pond that has 5-pound bass in it, and then it is a big long golf cart drive of about maybe 300-400 yards to the actual lake.
Yeah, that's
pretty rough. I mean, I don't know if we could. It's so funny because I don't walk to the lake. It's pretty embarrassing. I actually get in my truck and I drive 300-400 yards, because I'm normally bringing like 12 rods with me. But yeah, it's really complicated. You can walk out on a marina. There's a pontoon boat with no motor on the back, just a trolling motor in the front, 3 batteries, solar panel. It's made to fish. And I'll even bring lawn chair. Like, you got chairs. I'll bring you chairs for you to ride. You can just sit there. Let's do it. So we'll figure that out before next week. Let's get a date.
Yeah, we could be like Bartles and James, 2 old guys just sitting there.
As grumpy old men just sitting there fighting over the one that got away. So let's do it.
Yeah,
that'll be fun.
So,
heck yeah.
What do you have summer plans? Like, you know, you and Kelly are gonna go somewhere, and along the way you're gonna stop and fish at some, you know, bucket list destinations?
Well, my daughter is trying to circumvent all plans, and she's begging us to go back to Florida. We did ICAST last year and did Florida, and so we had talked about some family plans. We talked about Utah trip to see our boys, because we have 2 boys that are out there at school, and if we do that, I always go do some fly fishing. Super fun on the Upper Provo. I fished there the last time we were there, and it's had a blast. We talked about Yosemite, because it's interesting, because with the 6 kids, the 4 older ones, we traveled, they've seen all these things. And then in my mind, I feel like all of my kids have seen that, but 13-year-old and 16-year-old at home, they're like, I don't remember Yosemite. It's like, let me show you the pictures. You were there, but they were so small. Totally. So now we got to redo some of that. So if we do the Yosemite trip, we do Eastern Sierras, and again, that'd be fly fishing. So the bass fishing, I don't normally travel to bass fish. And that's what I haven't figured out, that piece yet, is like leaving great fish. Leaving Clear Lake, leaving the Delta, leaving my backyard pond across the street to go and find fish. It's got to be extraordinary. I love fishing small creeks and rivers. So the short answer is no true fishing destination, just because I'm so spoiled. But I think that's that whole summertime, is trying to get. I actually have spent some time watching some YouTube and reconnecting with multi-species angling. I want to make sure I said that correctly. We've got this Bear River that's near us. And 2 years ago I went out and I got way into kind of micro fishing. And I know that's like this new thing, and these bait finesse systems, just catching tiny river smallmouth. So much fun. So it takes the pressure off. You're like in the water, frolicking around, goofing off in areas that I used to go gold panning and gold, like sluice box with my dad. But fishing for fish that you normally don't go after for me is super rewarding. And I love to learn about those fisheries, but apply what I already know about fish and the lifestyle and see what crosses over. So summer, let's just get you on the map, get you up here. And I think that to me, to show other people where we live and the fishing that's here and the opportunity to catch some fish, that would be a summer highlight for sure. But for us traveling, I love the idea of summer fishing at our local pond. And it's funny because we always tease summer's the time that we like to be home. The weather is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Heat. And it's like I can leave and go during the wintertime or rainy season or whatever and go somewhere else and then fish. But summer we like to be at home quite a bit. So it's kind of, what about you? You got any other? I mean, I know if we can get you on record to be committed to come up here, you have somewhere else you'd like to go?
So I've got a few trips planned. I just came back from Vegas, and I had an opportunity to see the Dead and Company at the Sphere. Yeah. And I'm taking my son and his best friend on June 20th. We're going to go back there. And then from there, I think what I'm going to do is probably put them on a plane to come back home. And I'm going to fly to New York and see my mom. Now, my mom lives in Western New York, and she's sandwiched right there by Erie and Chautauqua Lake.
Nice. So,
when you think of those lakes, you're gonna think of smallmouth and definitely walleye. And I'm not a big walleye's great eating, but in terms of catching, I thought it was like the most boring catching fish on the planet because once you got them on, they just kind of like lay there and they're like, all right, reel me in, and there's really no fight. But I'm gonna do that, spend a little time there, and then one of the things that one of the challenges we're having is ICAST, and we're gonna go. I don't know if are you going this year?
I haven't formalized plans. We're looking at flights and seeing who we would work with when we're there. So maybe you and I can discuss that offline to see if there's an ICAST reason to visit. We stayed last year across the street from kind of Disney World, and there was just this lake behind it, and it was just. It's so bassy and it's so awesome, and everywhere has fish. And it was I brought a couple travel rods with me, and caught fish right off the dock, and didn't connect with anybody because it was more of a family trip. But it's just, Florida is that dream water where the growing season's so long. They have monster fish over there. So that's one thing. Yeah. And it's like, then you're like, okay, do I fish just bass? Do I go out and I touch the salt water? Am I catching, my dream fish growing up was like the tarpon, but then it's like the snook. And I have all these friends from the fish sock world. Oof. They're like, come to Florida and come catch fish that you can eat. And I'm just like, there's so many fun things to do. But of course, like Lake Okeechobee and everything else around there, like, I don't know if you
have you fished Okeechobee?
I've not. So that's
the
one.
God, it's so good.
Yeah. Yeah, so I have a couple buddies that do some construction there, and they're digging ponds, selling dirt, and they want to turn it into another fish pond. And we've had some people call in about those ponds that are literally, they need to harvest sand all over Florida to raise the houses up in different locations. And everywhere you turn off a pump, it fills with water, and then about 14 different species crawl into these ponds, and they have ridiculously amazing fishing. So I don't know. Florida ICAST would be fun.
Yeah, I don't actually know how I screwed up ICAST, but I had to book summer camp for all the kids. And when I was looking at dates, the first thing I looked at was ICAST. And I was like, okay, I can't book here and here. And sure enough, somehow I booked it. And so I'm supposed to be in West Virginia, and I'm gonna do some fishing in West Virginia, but I have to get to ICAST. And so the idea is if I can get to ICAST, then from ICAST, I think that the plan is to drive up the coast all the way to New York, spend about 10 days along the way, and then do some fishing because I need to get to Syracuse. And then, Syracuse in the summer is great because you've got Oneida Lake, which is, a pretty good fishery. And then, of course, you got Alexandria Bay and the St. Lawrence River. And if I could get up to the St. Lawrence River that time of year, that'd be that's a quick drive. I did that twice for my dad. He had a second house. He lived in Maryland, and so he moved to Florida. Mm-hmm. So I drove his stuff
for his vacation home the first time, and then I went back and drove the rest of his gear in a U-Haul. So easy East Coast. Because us California people, it's like the map. California, the state is so big,
Yeah.
and then when you're covering the whole East Coast, it's like people are like, you're insane. You're like, that's just a normal drive to Southern California. It's like going to Rick's house.
Yeah,
it's no big deal. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you this: when I take this trip, I'm gonna bring this. Now, I don't know if anyone knows what this is. I'd love to know in the chat because it just came in the mail today.
Oh, what do you got? Tell me. I don't know what that is. I'm just gonna tell you right now. I'm not seeing that.
All right. Is anybody besides the person in the chat that knows what it is? Know what it is? If you know, let's see it in the chat. All right, I'm gonna open this up. I'm so excited.
So you got an offer from Brown Bait Company on the chat. He said he's got 2024 ICAST South Florida canal trip for 3 days. So Rick, if we go to ICAST, we already got offers. So we'll go catch some canal.
Maybe we
fish.
should call this person. Let's call this person right now. Here, Fix. Can you call this person? Yeah, I want to get this guy on the line. Ooh, I'm so excited. Hold on. He wrote me a note on the inside and everything.
Oh, wow.
Let's see if we get him. I can't show you the stickers because, hold on. The suspense is killing me. Oh. All right, so at least we got some hooks. I don't know if you guys can see that.
Oh, look at that. Oh, yeah, that looks good.
So, I'd love to sit here and tell you I know exactly what this person is made for me, but this is yeah, make the call, get him on the line.
Hey, I'm just gonna tell you, bring that to my house. We'll play with that thing. That looks so good.
Yeah,
the first
this is
right
this is handmade.
Hey, what's going on?
Hello, Brendan.
Hey, Rick, what's going on? Hello, Chris. Hello, everybody. I'm out here on the lake right now, actually.
I bet you are. So I am showing on the camera right now the bait that you made and sent to me.
Oh, yeah? Awesome. Well, hopefully you like it, and hopefully you'll be able to maybe catch some fish on it.
I love
sure
it.
It's small enough, you know.
I love it. Tell me about
those little dink bass that you catch should bite it.
Yeah. So tell us about this bait that I'm holding in my hand, the pattern, everything.
Yeah, so this is a 6-inch floating balsa bait, or balsa glide bait, really. So it's a herring profile. So, I mean, it really will mimic just about anything, you know, like a little herring, a little bait fish, a pond smelt, whatever the heck you got in your pond. Just a little bait fish profile. It's also floating too, which not many glide baits are. It's also made out of balsa wood, which is something that basically I don't think anyone's ever made a balsa glide bait before and done it right. So this one is a floating one, so it will float on top of the surface and you can crank it down. So it basically acts as a crankbait almost. The joint acts as a lip on the bait, pretty much. It's angled a little bit, so it makes the bait dive down just like a few feet, and then it'll stay at that like 3 to 4 foot range if you keep your rod down. So as you're reeling it. So that's pretty much, I mean, my personal favorite retrieve with it is just a slow and steady retrieve and occasional pauses. Now you can get a little wild with it and you can chop it around and it'll shoot out and all that kinds of stuff. And then there's also a pin at the bottom. You can take that out and turn those 2 pins and make it so it chops better or it glides wider, depending on which way you turn the pins.
Wow.
So that's it. 6 inches, like a 1.5 ounces, I believe, 1.5 or 1.6, depending on the density of the wood. So yeah, and if it's sealed correctly, so you are not going to get anything biting through that wood. Balsa wood is extremely soft, and I made sure to protect it.
Amazing. Now I got to be honest with you, Brendan.
The paint scheme,
not having made one of these before or whatever, I would have expected bigger hooks. What size hooks are these?
No, those are size. Let me see. Those are size 4 Gamakatsu bronze round bends.
Okay.
So that is that's the perfect hook for that bait. I've never really lost any fish on that bait with that hook right there. And the reason I like smaller hooks on like most of my baits, like even like, let's see, I run like on a depth 250, I run size 2 hooks on that.
Wow.
So that's still like a crankbait size hook.
Yeah.
You know, that's like tiny. So one thing that's going to do is that the hooks are lighter, they're smaller, they're less, like the bass are not going to be so much worried about the hooks. They're not just this giant black thing that's hanging down from the bait, you know? So the bass are less, you know, susceptible to looking at it and getting turned off from it and not wanting to eat it. And the hooks also suck up close to the bait. So they're lighter, they're smaller. When the bait's swimming, they get up close to the bait and they stay there. And also, it allows you to basically make the bait. I mean, with this bait, it's not as much of an issue, but whenever you're putting smaller hooks on stock baits that sink, it'll make the sink rate slower because there's less weight there. But this bait, that doesn't really matter. But super light wire, so you get good penetration really, really fast. That is going to go into the fish's mouth extremely fast, and use a super limber noodly rod. I throw mine on the 7.3. I think it's a moderate fast action rod. That's for crankbaits, pretty much. I don't know. It's I've got it somewhere in my car right now.
Wow.
But yeah,
well,
15 pound monofilament or 20 pound, either one you like to use.
Well, I'm not gonna lie, it's beautiful.
Yeah, that's it.
And I probably don't want to fish it.
No. You're bringing that to my house. Brandon, we're going to get that thing chewed. That's going to get destroyed up here. So that's coming on the trip.
All right.
Exactly
so
what we need.
Here's my deal, Brendan. We're going to throw this in every lake that I fish this summer. So I don't care whether it's California, Florida, or New York. I'm going to throw this on. I'm going to take this with me. I'm going to throw this on every lake that I get to this summer. And I mean, if I don't catch fish, let's not.
No.
If I don't catch fish on 10 lakes with this, then you can be the CEO of Monster Bass. You can take over the
I would
whole
love
thing.
that deal right there. I would.
Be careful what you wish for, Brendan. You like fishing.
But,
you like fishing.
That is true. I might have to sell it to somebody. Let's see. Can I sell it back to you? That's the
I
deal
see.
right
I
there.
see. All right. So maybe we shouldn't make this deal then.
Oh man. You know, I have confidence that you're going to catch fish on it, so I don't think this deal is going to happen. So
I don't think this deal is.
You're going to catch them on it.
All right. Well, listen.
I have confidence.
I just wanted to call and say thank you because I got this in the mail today. I know that you told me it was to expect it coming, and I'm glad I was able to reserve one of the however many you made. And
yes.
Thank you
so much for your order.
Oh, you're very welcome. Are you currently taking orders? If anyone watching this is like, I want one of those.
Yeah, that's the only issue right now is I'm like 4 months out on orders. So if you want one, you're going to have to wait a little while. That's the only issue.
So what you're saying is place your order now and wait until 2025.
Yeah, place your order. Send me your
Pretty
money.
much.
So yeah, I'll just tell you in the chat, you've already had a couple people requesting where to find you. A couple people sent them, I think, in the chat to your Instagram already. So you're going to have some customers coming. So that bait looks great. Congrats on what you've done. Awesome. People are talking about how far you've come along. I know with the YouTube and the baits you've been making. It's cool that you're making them out of the ball. So have you ever done, when you paint, have you ever done different color paint under it just so when you get the hook rash that it starts to show like different colors that come out on your baits? I've seen that's kind of fun.
I know UFO does that, and he does like a yeah. So
different bait. It's just really fun.
Some people
like a red,
resin different color.
Yeah, resin, different color, looks like a bleed line, like bloody gills as the hooks rip into those things. Because it's just funny because as you're looking at people's baits, every one of us will look and see how much. So Rick, you never want to wall hang that. Even if you're just throwing it a bunch, you got to look cool because that's what the cool kids do is the more times you cast it, the hooks are digging into it. You got to get some bite marks on that thing. So we'll chew on that bait when we're out there fishing some plastic worms and we'll show, there you go. We'll show it to Brendan. So you got to get that thing beat up. You got to use it. And the more messed up it looks, the better that thing's going to fish. So, that's awesome. And the tail, I was going to tell you, Rick, the way that tail folds, super soft, that's going to fit right in a fish's mouth. That thing's going to get chewed up for sure. So congrats on making your baits and congrats to you, Rick, for having one of those things. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. And thank you, Brendan,
thank you,
for making this for me, and I will let you get back to fishing.
Of course. And it took me like 10 minutes to cut that little M on there. I was like, oh, you know what? I got this cool idea. I'm going to put a shad dot on it, but it's going to be the Monster Bass M.
Yeah, I like that. I saw it, and I was immediately like, oh, that's smart. Thank you so much. I love how you did that for me.
That's cool.
Yeah, no problem. So, well, all right. Well, thank you guys. Hopefully you enjoy it, Rick.
Of course.
And hopefully you catch some fish on it. And I'll talk to y'all later.
All right, sounds good.
Hopefully see you guys both in Florida.
All right. Bye, Brendan.
Yeah.
All right. Let's put that one back in the box. That's going with me somewhere.
Yeah, don't save that. I mean, that's the hardest thing, I think. When I was surfing a fair amount, I started to get collectible surfboards, and it's this whole idea of like hanging something on the wall. You get these baits that you preserve them, and when you talk to the people, when they make a surfboard or they're making baits, they're making products, that's their livelihood, that's their heart and soul, and they're making these things to be used. So the more you can use that, the more it honors them. I think that's incredible to have that, because I'll tell you the pressure you'll have though, and I can't even explain it. When you get a bait that's made by somebody by hand, and you tie it, you check your knot like 3 or 4 times, and you start running your hand up your line, and you're like, okay, maybe I should just reline my rod. So you put new line on, and you're kind of stressed, and then you're casting it, and then you're worried, and it's hard to actually fish it properly and fish it well and fish it especially near cover. I'll just tell you, in our local lake, we've got a guy that dives up here. And when you lose that and hook it, we just put we mark it on the fish finder. We call in this guy Chris. He'll go and dive, and he'll charge you like $60-$80. He'll go get that bait back for you. So but no, that's really cool to have that. Yeah,
this other guy sent me one. I don't know.
Look at that. That's a big one.
It's pretty big. I think this is probably for like muskie or something.
Muskie, pike, walleye, like you're talking. That could be anything. Yeah. I mean, I think it's fun to just throw stuff like that and see. I was using a monster crankbait, and that's we could talk about that summertime fishing of where the fish go and what happens to fish post spawn. And the theory from scientists are half the fish stay as resident shoreline shallow water fish, and half return back to the deep water where they were hanging out in their deep water haunts. And it really depends on your lake and the turnover and what goes on in the water. But you get a big old bait like that, and you get a big hungry fish, you probably catch a bass, a big curious bass on that thing. Looks like it's got a big bill, and crank it down. But using unique baits like that's always a lot of fun.
Yeah, people send me the nicest stuff. It's so crazy. Cool. I wish, in this one, he didn't send me, like, I can't even read the bait designer's name. He made this in 2014. He's never used it. I don't know. I thought that was interesting.
Bring them up. We'll get them wet. We'll throw them around, see what we can find.
Yeah, for sure.
That's right.
So, who's in the chat here?
It looks like of course, Kara's in there. They're talking all about the baits that you were just showing, and I think it's neat to see the community that's followed Brennan for so long and recognizing his talent that's gotten better. I just love the encouragement of people, and I guess he's already got a couple DMs coming from people his way that want to place some orders. So, what a cool community of people growing one another and the diversity of the fisheries and the stuff that we're using. I mean, that's the Monster Bass way. You got all these different techniques. You got people out fishing all around the world and all coming together chatting about fishing. So you want to jump into summertime, because I want to share my theory of fishing.
Please.
When I fish, and this is just specifically talking about my local lake. So we're talking about a reservoir. It's been around for 50 years, like 250 acres of fishing water, just to give you a rough idea. I believe, and this is something I like to put to test, is I believe the smarter, biggest fish. And so if you consider a bass that's 5 pounds is normally about 5 to 10 years old. I personally believe that the bigger, smarter fish to live that long have historically post-spawn gone out to deeper water. I know they come in and feed. I know you can catch them up shallow, but in my fishing, and it may be the approach and how I cast and the presentations, I catch bigger fish in the summer in the deeper water. Not to say you can't catch 10-pounder. I was just coming off the dock earlier. I went out to switched the batteries, the charger on my boat, and there was like a 6.5, 7 pounder just going through like 2 feet of water by the grass. And I understand punching and how those big fish go up and they hide, but to be a predator and to survive and not to get eaten and to find food, they're either way deep in the grass, we're going to have to punch them, or they're out deep. And so that's just kind of my thought process when I go and I'm like, okay, I want to catch something that's above 5 pounds. Quite often I go out into the deeper water. And so that's counterintuitive to most people because they're like, oh my gosh, summertime, it's so great. All these fish have moved up. You touched on it last week, pressured water. First thing in the morning, those big fish, you go out and fish, they probably have moved up in the evening or at night, and they're feeding and they're left over still in the shallow water before they retreat. And that's talking about a big smart fish that has a steep bank and it can move up shallow and down deep quickly, all within probably every day's feeding. And so when I say I think the big fish are out deep, I'm talking summertime, middle of the day. Doesn't seem like you can catch anything. That's because your fish, they're smart. They're out deep and they're still eating. And that's the one hard part, is to understand how do you catch a fish in the dog days of summer when it's 12 high noon, sun's blazing. And most people, I went out with the biggest crankbait I could find just to kind of test it. And I was on a paddleboard, was doing a lap, and I was like, you know what, I just want to see if this is still working. And within like 4 casts, caught 2 fish. First was like 3.5. The next one was like 6.5.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that isn't the common thing to think. I'm going to go catch a reaction bait fish at 12 o'clock in the afternoon when it's 85 degrees outside. But that's what I did. So it's fun that's just a theory I have, and it's fun to test the theories. But I'd love to hear what other people have in their mindset about what they think of summertime fishing.
Yeah, I mean, to me that makes a lot of sense though, because when I think of summertime fishing, sure they're going shallow, but as the waters start to warm up, in my experience, and that's usually when they tend to go deep. And so, yeah, they're down in a little bit of cooler water. And so, yeah, to me, that makes sense where the bigger fish are going to go, because they've already gone through this 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. It's like as we get older, right? When you're a little kid, you'll go run around and play in the snow. As you get older, unless you're snowboarding.
Right.
Unless you're snowboarding, you don't want to go out and play in the snow. It's too cold.
No, and tell me, how good is the gear you buy when you're older to avoid touching the snow? Like,
totally.
As a kid, you're like, I'll go out in jeans. I don't need gloves. I can stay in the snow all day long. And now you're like, man, if that snow touches me while I'm snowboarding, I will cry. That's funny. I think fishing with Gramps, if we can get him on the phone, I'd love to hear him, because I know you're talking about talking to him, and I think he's in the chat, said I could talk on this. I know the big fish will still come in, and right now above 70 degrees, your bluegill, if you got bluegill in your lake, they're spawning every month. It's above 70. Okay. And so it's like, oh, they're going to come up and they're going to eat all these bluegill. Well, those are a lot of baby bluegill. So your bigger bass are like, they're not going to go around and get a stomach full of bluegill fry. And for them to worry about chasing down a mom or dad bluegill that's by a nest, it's like those fish are just keyed into protecting their brood. And so that's not an easy meal either. So I also test it on the reverse, as I go out and I throw a smaller jerk bait along the shore in the shallow, and you'll catch a million little fish, and finding the bigger fish becomes a little bit harder. That's when you start looking at structure and skipping docks and all these different things that you can find. The other thing that I'd like to tell people is summertime is so fun to get on a pair of goggles and go swim where you fish. If I could get anybody from Monster Bass to like understand, like, hey, I want to see what's going on. You don't need forward facing sonar. It's so much better. Go under a dock and just kind of swim around and wait a few minutes and see what actually happens. The dynamics, the big fish is always at the back end and the best hiding spot of that dock. And it's kind of lipping and mouthing and kind of egging on the other smaller fish. But you start to learn this underwater dynamics. The reality, though, is fish, they stay in the groups by size. So if you have 3 or 4 big fish, they're not normally around a bunch of little fish because that's their food. But the little fish congregate together as well. So when you're catching bass, you're like, oh, I caught a 2-pounder. Oh, I caught another 2-pounder. I caught another 2-pounder. I'm kind of stuck in this 2-pound nursery we like to tease. And no disrespect to anyone that likes a 2-pounder or that's a good fish in the region. When you're searching for a 5-pounder, you're probably not going to pick a 5-pounder amongst an entire school of 2-pounders. They're normally hanging out with 3 or 4 other grumpy, older 5-pound fish.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of how the fish congregate. But that's something you get to learn when you're catching fish, also when you're swimming around and looking at fish. But I think fishing with Gramps, I see these on the phone, so I don't know if we can take a call.
Yeah, let's take it. Let's get him on the line. Hello, Gramps.
What's up, boys?
What are you doing?
Just got off the water, got everything done, loaded up, sent Jeremy on his way, told him I had to stop and call here before I get home and lose cell signal. So, yeah, I wanted to play off what Chris was saying. I've been listening about the last 5 minutes, and he's dead right, and I've learned this over history of fishing for, 40 whatever years. But, yeah, early May, and I'm going to talk Midwest. He can talk California, but early May is when we had an early spawn sort of this year. And so when he was talking about the bluegill being up on the banks, you find any riprap or any place like that where the bluegills are, putting their beds or hanging out, the big girls, when they get done spawning, come back out looking to feed up, they're looking for payback on the bluegills. And so early this month, probably the last 2 or 3 weeks, dragging a Texas rig rage bug has been just slaying them. And, it's a great way to catch them. And when they kind of stop doing that, or the big girls push off to the ledges, like Chris was saying, that's when you can back off offshore. Now, you can't do this if you're a bank angler a lot of the time. If you're in a boat or a kayak, you can position yourself and find a ledge where you might have a flat like I was fishing today, like a flat that goes out like a big point that's about 5-6 feet deep and then drops to 12 feet like instantly. And so a lot of people will throw deep diving crankbaits, those Strike King, 5XDs, and in, ledge fish like that, you can drag a big jig. We've had those in the boxes before, big heavy jigs that you can drag on the bottom. But today of all days, and I'm going to tell you guys a little story if everybody's listening or been following me on Instagram, I've been kind of down. I've been fighting some fatigue issues and things like that. I've struggled all month to catch fish, and I hadn't caught any big fish. And I was on the border of not making the KBF National Championship. I just didn't have the amount of inches. I don't think I wasn't comfortable. I was sitting 9th in the state, but I knew that wasn't going to be good enough by Friday when it ends. And so yesterday I lost a big fish on a crankbait, and it pretty much broke my heart. I was ready to just cancel my vacation and go to work tomorrow and just wherever I ended up where it was. My brother said, dude, he said, go home, get some sleep, get your stuff ready. Tomorrow we're just going to go fun fish. We'll go over here and we'll try some new things. We'll just have some fun. And we did that. And so, yeah, I started deep cranking the ledges and caught I caught a few little small keepers, but no upgrade. And then I remembered that over the weekend when me and Freedom Squad were out, I caught a fish on a Texas rigged grande bass rattler, just pulling it through, a bunch of different grass and this and that. I was like, man, this is such a great color. It's almost it's that chartreuse bottom and that green pumpkin back. And I told Rick earlier that I was like, one of my favorite things to throw this time of year are those baby D-bombs and that Burley's candy that came out in the Monster Bass boxes a few years ago. Many people might not know this, but I bought like 20 bags of those because they were so effective. So today I was like, you know what? I never throw a Ned rig. I drug a jig. I deep dive crankbait. I was like, let me dig out a heavier Ned rig and put one of these rattlers on it. And boom, caught a fish. And I'm dragging it slow like a Carolina rig. You can feel that tungsten head hit every little rock as it was coming off, and then it would drop off the ledge. And I lost some fish, and I tightened my drag and, adjusted, a little bit and, set the hook instead of, kind of wussing it a little bit, thinking they're just going to pin themselves. But fish after fish after fish, I was like, man, this is working. And then I caught an upgrade, and I'm like, oh, man, that puts me at 80-some inches, so I'm making it that much harder for somebody else. And then I texted Rick a picture of that bait in its mouth and was like, bro, these things work. You need to make 1 million of these. And then I moved to a different point and started dragging it again, 2 casts in. Boom, I catch my new lake PB here on West
Wow.
Logs of 19 and a quarter.
That's awesome.
My biggest fish of the month, my new lake PB, put me over 90 inches in mayhem, and I should be good to go. And I feel so much better. So I was telling Rick, dude, you need to make millions of these things because they're awesome.
Well, if I'm being straight up honest, same like I told you before. First of all, congratulations. I'm glad that you're able to turn around. But these were limited edition, and I'm not making these again for like the earliest they could possibly come out is 2025 at the earliest, and there's probably a good chance it's not happening. So the only ones that exist are the ones that were in the bag.
I'm Gramps. I'm with you. That bait works so good on the back of a big chatter bait. I've been using that thing, like you said. I've been doing a Neko rig. That bait simply gets bit. The coloring is awesome. It's the thing is you can use some spike it. We could probably make our own if we just got the green pumpkin one. So I'll just be mad, and my hands are going to be all yellow, but it's worth it. I think maybe
it's got to be done. That color,
plate of spike it.
Color
it's so
combo
good.
is so fantastic. Very good. It's just we may have to do it, or we may have to bribe everybody who got the Monster Bass boxes. Pay somebody for a mailing list and or start reaching out and offering money. I told Rick, I said I'm paying retail and then some. They flat catch fish, and I've only got 2 left.
Well, you can have my pack.
Oh,
I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
I got me and Gramps are going to arm wrestle for it because I need some, so it's good. I love it.
They're good baits. I mean, I am so glad that you got this company. Definitely got to get that color out and in the future. But oh my goodness, I look forward to seeing what else we get in the boxes. I got the VIP. I got the wigglers on for a shaky head, and I know I'm going to catch some on that. And I'm going to do some videos on this stuff when I get back to making videos next month. But
nice.
I just had to call in, but I got to get my booty on the road. I told Gramps or Gran I'd be home by 8, so I'm going to be a little bit late. But she never holds me to it.
Blame it on us.
Blame it on us, and I hope you guys have a happy anniversary weekend. Yes, sir. Sure will. 30 years. I mean, that's a hard accomplishment for a lot of people these days. But if you find the right one and you're patient with each other and be strong for each other, you can do it. Because it's hard for everybody all the time, everywhere. But I'm blessed. I'm so blessed to have a woman that lets me do what I love to do. Amazing. All right. Well, get home to her. Tell her we said hi, and thanks for calling in, man. All right. We'll see y'all later. All right.
Cheers.
Bye. That's amazing.
That's cool.
That's amazing.
No, good dude. He's out using the baits. He's catching fish. Sounds like he's made it maybe into his kayak event that he wants, and maybe all because of the bass brand that you picked up. You've got the Grande Bass matching the Monster Bass, and what a cool thing. No, that's a pretty neat story. Yeah, and we might not be done yet. Yeah, what is that's a whole nother call. No, that's fun. So glass rattles. I got a couple people over here asking. Glass rattles have been ordered. I just gave them the artwork today. I'd say we're less than 30 days away. Cool. Just so that people can have their answer, because the glass rattles kind of life-changing when you think about a bait and having an opportunity to put something that adds a rattle. Mm-hmm. I mean, people have been doing it for a while, but to have a bait made with the rattle pocket, I think is kind of revolutionary. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, and Mikey Balls made that video where he actually injected into the air tail. He injected scent right in it so that it would slowly dissipate in the water as the bait was moving. Yeah, and that's cool. Yeah, he said that was pretty great. So, yeah. Do we have anyone else on the line? Oh. Okay. Let's. Is the unknown caller ever called us before? Let's do the unknown. I like it. Go for it. And then we'll take Matt. Hello, unknown caller. Hey, what's going on? How you doing, man? Hey, how's it going? Good. Oh man, doing good. What's your name? Hey, my name is JJ. Man, I'm
one of the newest members of the pro staff with you guys. I'm
Welcome.
located in Alabama,
Nice.
down in the south. Listen, I love the box this month. You know, I love the mixture of baits and everything that you guys had. The only thing that I wanted to call and talk to you guys about is, you know, we had the soft plastics, but we had no hooks this month. You think that may be something that I know that a lot of your boxes usually feature hooks.
Yeah.
In the past it has. So, I just wanted to call and get you guys' opinions. You know what I'm saying? Other than that, I appreciate y'all taking my call, man. And, you know, hey, love the boxes.
Well, first of all, thank you and welcome to the team. Yeah, to answer your question, yeah, usually I have hooks in there. And this month I wanted to give everyone an extra pack of plastics. You know, throw a little more value in the box. Because I think that, you know, whether you've got a 3 or a 4-aught EWG, you probably already got a full pack of those somewhere, or 5, depending on, you know, where you're fishing or whatever the presentation is that you're going to use some of these baits. So I just made the decision this month to mix it up a bit. Sometimes I do that because I feel like I'm giving you a hook that, like, you know, the availability of the hooks that I can give you are something that you probably already have. Sometimes it comes down to, I want to make sure that I give you a good value. And then sometimes I want to make sure that the box, every single, you know, I try to make it so that every single item in the box pairs perfectly together. Like, I'll give you a good example. There's a Japanese brand that makes, like, Inchy worm or the Inchy drop shot. It's like, I don't know. Anyways, in this given month, I'm going to hook you guys up for everything for drop shot and wacky rig in a single box. And because I think that the time of year presents well, and I think that it's a great time for me to put this configuration together. So, you know, it just comes down to what I'm working on at the time and what I can pair together. And this month I just decided that y'all probably have enough hooks, and you know, the guidebook will explain what hooks to use, and you know, that's why I went the way that I did.
That's awesome. Now, I was going to say, Rick, yeah, I'm the caller. I didn't catch your name, so I apologize. But what hook? This is like a personal side for me because I use a lot of different hooks with baits. What hook would you have looked for? I know Rick normally does hooks and probably the last like 50 boxes, bags, whatever, depending on the subscription you have. But give me an idea of which hook you were looking for with what bait, because I think that's a fun thing to just consider. Some great feedback for Rick. What would you have liked to see in the box? Because you can, I'm just going to tell you, I could probably put the baits that we got this last month on 5 different hooks. But what would you personally have paired it up with? So if you could give us some feedback, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I would have definitely paired it with probably a mustad. Is it a triple lot? Probably hook. I definitely I haven't had a lot of chance to use this month's bait just because haven't been on the water as much as I'd like to, of course. But I know that here the last time I went, I've been using some wacky rig stuff, so I was kind of excited to hear him say that, you know, we're gonna have some wacky rig stuff and, you know, in the upcoming boxes. 'Cause they've really been killing it here lately. So, but you know, definitely it's kind of like mixed variations. I really haven't had a chance to actually get on the water and use a lot of the soft plastics yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely looking forward to it. I'm going to the lake this weekend, so definitely gonna give it a shot and use some of them soft plastics this weekend in different ways. I did get a chance to use the jerk bait. That was, let me just tell you, they're killing that too. So he definitely loves that. The color,
was that Smithwick? The Smithwick jerk bait?
Yeah. The chartreuse. Man, dude, that thing is killer. I used it last Thursday.
And man, I think I caught like 8 in a matter of like 30 minutes. It was crazy. So it was
That's
pretty
awesome.
cool. I definitely like that. The jerk bait seems to work pretty well down here. And then the wacky rigs, man, they're killing the wacky rigs right now down here.
Yeah, no, that's great. I appreciate the feedback. And I know for Rick, it's always that thing. I got a bunch of people in the chat that are saying more soft plastics, less hooks. I use with almost all the baits, because I fish Neko rig with my soft plastics. I use like a size 1, and it's like an octopus style hook. It's really cool if it has like the double fiber guard that kind of helps out make it a little more weedless. But that's just how I locally fish a lot of soft plastics. And a lot of times we'll get all these different recommendations and EWGs, and just give me size 1 octopus hook. And then other people are going to get that and gonna be like, what do I got to do with this stupid hook? So I think it's funny with all the different personal opinions. That's why I always ask people like, hey, I need some hooks. What hook do you need? Like you're saying, an EWG size 3, size 4, maybe size 5 with a really big bait. You're kind of covered with having Texas rig, Carolina rig setups. But then I go, instead of a worm hook, I go to that octopus style. And I even use that when I'm drop shotting. So that's not the normal choice, but that's, it catches fish and does fine for me. So it's an interesting spot you get put in, Rick. I know. And I appreciate the caller, giving us feedback. It is fun because I know that the work to put each bait together with the right tackle and the terminal tackle to get it in the hands of people. It's a fun thing that Monster Bass tries to do for their customers. So appreciate the call.
I think we've got one other guy. Let's go to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Matt Brown. Matt Brown, where are you fishing this summer? How you doing, man?
Man, well, I'm actually sitting on the lake right now. I pulled the boat off, and we're sitting at the lake house having a good time at Eufaula, Oklahoma. So that's the one I'm on today, and we're definitely in full summer swing down here. I mean, it is hot. We're at 91, 92 degrees was where I got air temperature today on the water, and it was definitely warm. So, but direction, I mean, this is one of the greatest times of the year to go fishing, because legitimately, like Chris was saying, bass school up this time of year. And if you go up north, the schools change on what they're looking for. If you go south, it changes. But the great thing about Oklahoma is we kind of have that opportunity to fish several different styles of lakes. Mm-hmm. And so I'm up here fishing a mud flat lake. And, I mean, you go find any spot where a channel swing happens in 10, 12 foot of water, and you have a nice flat up on one side, that's where I go to in the summertime on lakes like this. And it's one of those, I love doing it because you get out and kind of test your, and I won't even say forward-facing sonar skill, because I don't do as much forward-facing sonar this time of year until they get way off the ledges. But, you get to test your, how do I read a bank? How do I read, the inside turns on my maps? That's where I find a lot more fish this time of year, is just lake knowledge. Where should a post-spawn bass be that's not necessarily at summer depth yet in that transition? Because we're definitely in full transition swing. We're in the post-spawn. They've moved out of, the initial just eat everything inside after they lay eggs, to now they're a little deeper. They're a little more lethargic. The water temperature's, in the 80-degree mark. And it just, the bite seems to slow down is what it feels like. And after several years of fishing this kind of style, and with the, all the advances we have in electronics now, getting to learn what the fish are really doing has been spectacular this time of year. And it kind of stinks for a bank fisherman. It really does. And that's why I feel like a lot of guys, you're told go first thing in the morning when you're fishing, or, go in the evening. And then it's such a true thing, because the bass are following bait as the bait moves up. But even at midday, high noon, bait are still around. They're just off. So now you're looking, I'm sitting in 35 foot of water instead of I'm sitting in, 13 foot of water. and that's the hard thing is these fish will transitory or migrate or roam or whatever you want to call it during the late summer periods. And I always remember old men talking about, well, they're suspended. And in all honesty, they are. And when they're suspended, they're moving. And so having something, my opinion is having something late summer that covers water, that you can have multiple presentations, unless you have, forward-facing sonar where you can pinpoint your cast. But you've got to do multiple presentations in the summertime to, a lot of times, irritate a bass. You think something in the head enough times, it wants to get it out of its sight, and that's more of what I'm doing summertime is all those reaction bites. And that's why when you mentioned wacky rig again, and Chris talks about Neko every time we talk, it's kind of his go-to. I go from a wacky rig to a Neko rig this time of year, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, interesting.
I go from fishing a wacky rig in a little shallower water, and it doesn't matter if it takes 5 seconds for it to hit the bottom. It's just longer that it's in that presentation mode, when they're up in spawn. When I pull off the bank, that's when I go a little faster on my descend, but I still get that awesome oscillation that a wacky rig provides by adding that nail weight. And so yeah, that's my opinion on late summer. So I love wacky rig in late summer, and then I love, if I have to move off, there's nothing better than Neko rigging and being able to bounce it off a rock that's sitting there and have it drop down, another 3 or 4 feet to a fish that's sitting there waiting for a meal. So.
Yeah, you got it. I was going to say, I'm just a spaz. I can't wait for a weightless wacky rig to get to the bottom. That's really the only reason. It's cool talking to you, and you and I have some offline conversations about fishing against each other and all these great things with the monster bass community. We were talking about bank fishing. I want to make sure that the bank fishermen, fisherwomen, there's always these anglers that are like, I'm stuck. I wish I had a boat. Some of the best fishing we have on our local lake here is summertime bank fishing, when it's so hot all day long that nobody's really catching fish. If it's over 100 degrees, it's killing everything. It's so hot. There's no oxygen in the upper levels of the water. The lake pretty much feels dead. You don't even want to be outside. Wait till midnight, and all these big fish start coming up along the shallow top water. Big rats. Fun fishing can start on the bank. And if you could think of a steep bank, the steep bank is key. If you have a dam, if you've got the steepest bank you can get access to, where those fish, and if you think of the bank and that bank continues and transitions down into your lake, that fish can get from deep water to shallow without spending a lot of energy swimming a long distance. So these fat, lazy bass are coming up, and they're going to start eating. Some of our best fishing around here is bank fishing midnight to say like 4:30 before that sun comes up, because the fish feel protected. They feel safe.
Absolutely.
You want to go catch some fish, and people are like, oh man, there's no fish. They'll eat literally anything. You throw anything slapping on the water. I mean, that's the cool part about being a bank angler and understanding, okay, I might just have to not go to sleep tonight, and you're going to be in the best spot to fish. So not to discredit the bank angler. They've got some prime real estate summertime. So, get after it and get the job done.
Sure. I definitely didn't want to discredit them for sure. I was just thinking.
No, they just get sad. So sometimes they're like, I can't catch fish. And they're like, I got to find a different activity to do. They just need to find a different timeline. You got it.
Exactly. And being able to track fish as they move up and down in those periods is so vital, but also being able to, so what do you throw at midnight? And that's what changes for me as well, is I throw a completely different thought process at midnight, 1 o'clock, than I throw at high noon. I'm going super small. I'm going dainty little bait fish that I am jiggling in front of a fish at high noon. And I am going super big. I love throwing the biggest Texas rig you can imagine on, a 10-inch worm or a 12-inch worm, and being able to just, drag a point. And that's my favorite at midnight. That is, in my opinion, it's something, because I don't have to have a lot of visual cues from it, but I can just go out there and feel what's going on. And I don't know what it is about a 10-inch worm at midnight for me. It's my juice. So, but yeah. So I love it.
That's awesome.
Nice.
No, I appreciate calling.
Nice, Matt. Before I let you
appreciate
go,
it, guys.
before I let you go, what's your dream body of water? I don't care.
Dream body of water.
Yeah, I don't care what the species is.
Shoot. I would say the best one ever that I've been on is in this little bitty town in northwest Missouri.
Ugh.
It's called Mazingo Lake.
That's it. I like it.
That's your dream.
Specific.
Mazingo Lake.
And so it's
Matt, let me ask you another question.
Clearwater Timber Lake.
Okay.
It's tucked back in the middle of nowhere. It's just that dream body of water. When you're talking fishermen, it's like, yeah, it's one of those you just roll up and go, I can fish this whole lake today, and it's got every type of cover I want.
Do you have a dip in right now?
Do I?
Yeah.
For sure, at all times.
That's why you picked Mazingo Lake, my friend.
He's satisfied. He knows what he wants. I like that.
I know.
I like if you can have access to your dream that is that attainable to accomplish, he's probably happier than the rest of us. Like, I'm sitting over, I'm just going to tell you, Matt, like, for some reason, I don't even know what happened, but when I was like 8 to 10 years old, I think I drew the picture when I was like 11 or 12 of a guy on the front end of a skiff, and somebody was high sticking, and he's got like the old hats that had the flaps on the back for the sun protection, and he's fly fishing.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know why I drew that when I was a little kid, but I always knew he was fly fishing for tarpon. And then I got older, and I'm like, what did I watch? What were my parents? I don't even know where that influence came from, because my parents were not anglers, but that's haunted me my whole life, that I need to go catch tarpon on a fly rod somewhere. And that seems like a little harder to do in Northern California than maybe what you've got to go to your dream lake. So, I'm envious, and I wish I was like, hey, if I could just go down the road to the Delta and go catch. Some people, their dream trip is to come to the Delta, to go to Clear Lake. And that's the beauty of where we're all anglers. We come together, we can share these stories. Like, I get to fish some people's dream water. And then I know a lot of people now through the fish stock community that are down Tuconk. They got down in Marathon, Florida. They got like 28 boats, and they're like, what are you waiting for? Get down here. And it's like, I don't know if I want to go and accomplish that childhood dream, but no, good on you for having exactly what you want to do and having that obtainable goal right there. That's fun.
Definitely. And you're in the top fishing area in the country. My dream at some point would be to come fish one of those lakes out by you guys and catch one of those, 8-9 pound spotted bass that you guys have stocked full of, that are what lake is that I've seen a couple
Bullards.
go out to Northern California.
So tell me how weird this is. I used to fish Bullard's Bar on a paddleboard with a fly rod. I'd catch small fish. I've not gone up to target large spotted bass, and it's an hour and a half from my house. And everybody's like, "What are you waiting for?" And I'm like, it's just like it's one of those weird things that when it's obtainable and it's right there, I have priorities doing other stuff. So I'm with you. Maybe like Rick, I maybe should set the goal to go up and catch like a 5 or 6 pound spotted bass at Bullard's. And a 3 pound spot, 4 pound, I've caught that. Those things they fight so crazy, but I haven't put that on my bucket list yet. So maybe after this call, we'll make some bucket list.
My PB is actually a 5.3 on the lake that I'm at right now for spotted bass. And that's what made me go, I want to go catch a big spot. Because I caught a big spot, and those guys are pulling the 6, 7, 8 out of those giant lakes in North. Yeah, that would be the one that I have never fished that style of fishing, and so that's definitely on the bucket list.
That's cool.
One of these days, Matt, we'll have you out here.
That'll have to happen.
For sure. Well, listen, man, thanks for calling in. And hope you and the family are doing well. We'll talk with you soon.
Awesome. We'll talk to you guys later.
All right, man.
Yeah.
All right. Bye. Man, that guy's always fishing. You know, his wife's grandfather, I think, invented the Zebco 33.
No, the 303. So like the push button Zebco. Yeah. So he was telling me, him and I connected after the last show, and we're sending some messages back and forth. But yeah, the wife's grandfather, the 303, the push button that so many people probably had as a kid. That's pretty cool to have that heritage in the bloodline. And obviously fishing has transferred, you know, like whether it's through him, the wife, whatever, they're all about being out on the water and fishing. So it's super cool. Yeah, I think, I mean, that's the one proposal I have for the show. You and I were talking. I'd love to get the feedback from the people in the chat. And this is, I want to dive into that subject of why fishing, and not tonight, of course, but there's just so many other things to choose. And I was teasing with a person earlier, is kind of how it sparked, is across the street, we have like 6 pickleball courts and everybody's playing pickleball, and it's awesome. And people are outside and they're like, why don't you just come play pickleball more often? Why are you always fishing? And I just looked at him, I go, because I don't want to play pickleball with you. So he's just like, I go, you always have to have someone else to play pickleball. I was just teasing, but the reality is fishing, you can go alone. You can go with anyone. You can go with a child. You can go with somebody that's 95. If they could just roll them out onto the boat or on the shore, there's so many reasons of why fishing. And I think that's a whole nother show to consider, because there's so many positives of why. But it's just cool to think about this summertime and having these destinations and where to fish and these dreams. And that is the answer, is why fishing is really the start. But you know, I don't want to go too far, but that's the future, Chris. The mindset of like, I want to go there with people and find out why they love fishing so much and why they picked the sport. But
that's a whole show in itself.
Yeah, no, that's what I want to get into that. But like right now with do you have a dream trip? I had a couple people in the chat, they were talking about going into Mexico and going after big bass. My buddy John did that a while ago, and he said it's kind of sketchy nowadays. There's a lot of drug properties in Mexico and some different things that have happened with the rights to water. But do you have a dream destination? Doesn't matter, like if it's Alaska and you're going after some type of fish, it doesn't have to be bass, even though we're on the Monster Bass Live. What is the dream Rick quest to catch?
The drug properties in Mexico? No, I'm just kidding. No, actually, you know, for a long time I always thought like going to South America for some of the peacock bass would be really interesting. But I think as I get older, like, you know, I still haven't fished Alaska. I haven't fished Norway. And something about all that beautiful scenery, like just to be able to fish a postcard, I think would be pretty special.
That's cool.
You know, I will admit, like, I do love, like, saltwater fishing. I think, you know, you're on a big boat, you're catching some really exotic fish, they're putting up a big fight, and yeah, you get to eat them. They're tasty. Yeah. I'm not saying bass aren't tasty. I just haven't eaten one yet.
You know what? I'm just going to go on record on the podcast. Bass are delicious. You think of sea bass, you think of other, I mean, we've talked about cooking fish and eating fish. Yeah. And I'm telling you, people are so afraid to talk about eating bass. Like the world record bass, we talked about that before. The 28-pound bass went on the dinner plate that night. And you can find the recipe online of how that bass was cooked. Catching fish, you know, from water to table. I don't even know how you want to farm to table. One of my favorite memories, Kelly and I were in Kauai and Anini Beach. We're driving. I stopped at the store and I bought one of those little small barbecues and barbecue briquettes, and I got the matches and I bought some asparagus, and she's like, wow, pretty confident, huh? And I'm like, she's like, you going to buy fish? I'm like, no, I'm going to go spear fish and I'm going to barbecue it right on the beach. And to have that happen, to be able to spear fish and to cook it and to eat it, and to have that experience in a different land other than your own home is kind of that cool connection. Totally. Some people came over and I shared the fish that I had speared with another family. They were super appreciative. It was a lot of fun. And so, like you're saying, traveling somewhere else to go and do something like that and being connected to somebody else's culture, I think for me is kind of like that big bucket list experience to go somewhere and harvest a fish. Lots of fish, really cool. Barramundi down in Australia.
Yeah.
There's this guy Dean, and he catches some of the biggest fish on Instagram, and I share him all the time on my stories of like my dream. And then he messaged me, he's like, "What are you waiting for, bro? Get down here!" And I'm just like, "You got to be kidding me!" To go to Australia to catch some of those creatures, because a lot of those things down there, they're going to eat you. But yeah, Panama, you get down and you start to think of the jungle, the Amazon, like you're talking the peacock bass and all the different fish that are down there. I think the list could get pretty long pretty quick.
Sure.
But
sure.
Let's get you. Let's narrow that list. Let's get you on a road trip. You and Raphie, Northern California. Get you out on the pontoon boat, and then we'll start. I think that'll be a fun thing. Is maybe when we're hanging out fishing, we can start penciling in some of those dream monster bass trips, because I think that could be a fun thing in the future. Is to take. Tell me, didn't you do that in Texas? I think you went out and fished with some monster bass crew in Texas.
Yeah, we flew down for an event, and we rented a house. I said, listen, I'll get the house. You guys all come down, and we'll hang out. I'd love to do that again. And, I'm pretty sure at the Classic next year, because it'll be in Texas, I'll probably do the same, because hotel rooms for 8 people or 10 people at however much a night is ridiculous. Let's just get a big house, and then we can stay a few extra days after the event and go fish some of those big waters, and hang out with Jeremy, and let's get on some of those private lakes that he fishes, and have a day of it. So
that'd be awesome. Yeah. Just count me in. Let's do it. I think those are the fun things, and that's part of the whole deal of like the summertime. I think we often forget this is a time when kids are out of school. We're making travel trips, and I think that for me parlays into that why fishing. It's just the community fishing, doing an activity together with other people, regardless of your experience level. You can enjoy it, and I think that's the beauty of it. And then just the chaos. I mean, traveling, having rods break, losing your luggage, it's just a disaster. The weather's terrible. I mean, sometimes those are the best trips, and you catch no fish, and you come back, you're like, that was the greatest time I ever had not catching a fish. And I think that's the beauty of it as well. So what a cool thing.
Yeah, and I'm reading the chat. It seems like we've got some invitations for pretty much everywhere in the country. So
yeah, looking for Lunker said a Viking chartered fishing trip. I'm like, let's do that.
I'm down with that.
Totally. So
down with that. I'll be Rolo.
We got some definitely opportunities. ICAST. Shoot, we should have probably pre-planned an ICAST monster bass fishing trip.
Yeah.
And gone out and connected with some folks, but we got to get the calendar figured out and look. Definitely, it'd be so fun to fish with some of the people in the monster bass community, and get out of California, not just for the politics, but just to go and fish some different waters. I've never fished Northeast, and there's some amazing things. My son just moved out to New Jersey, so we got some connections. I got the California kids they're leaving us pretty quick, getting out of this state. And so now we've got some northern connection with family up there. So might have to go and do a fishing road trip.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. So, all right. What is Ashley Schubert watching the show for? I knew she was watching. You're not going to get this time back. What are you doing? Are you stalking me?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Look how red my face is.
Look at that. You just got caught. You got caught and punked. That's so good.
Yeah. So
why don't you fill in the rest of the world? What can you tell the rest of the world who's Ashley Schubert to you?
Yeah, it's my girlfriend.
Okay? I just wanted to make sure, because I had the inside info, but so Rick, you're being stalked and you're being kept track of, and she's laughing. She appreciated it.
Yeah, every time the show's over, she's like, "How is the forward frontal sonar?" And I'm like, "All right, enough."
So she's got it right there in the chat. For the frontal facing sonar.
Oh yeah. She always mispronounces it on purpose to pretend like she doesn't know anything about it. And I'm like, all right, whatever.
Never met her. I already like her, so it's perfect.
Yeah,
that's good.
Come to Tennessee and we'll tick the tops. What?
I don't know. It's like there's an offer. There's an offer in Tennessee. It could be fun. It could be weird. I don't know. Maybe they hit the wrong emoji.
Well, flip a coin. I'm in for both. But all right. Well, listen, we had a great time today, and we took a couple of calls, and I want to say congratulations to Gramps for hitting a home run today, and I want to say thank you to his brother. For telling him just to take the day and just relax and just have fun and not worry about it. And hopefully he's going to do well in the KBF championships. And I hope he has a great time this weekend with a wife. 30 years is a long time. And then again, I want to make sure that we all send our love and our energy out to Alex and Bethany, because they've had quite a year, and Grammy's not feeling well, and we want her to get better soon. So let's take care of that. And for everyone in the chat that's still there, everyone that's watching us and tunes in each week, thank you guys so much. And if this is your first time tuning in, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And it won't be the first time, won't be the last time, and hopefully we'll be friends again. And we'll catch you on the next episode. In terms of who won, God. I don't know.
I think Ashley's looking for a prize. Did you see that? You're welcome for being a supportive and loving partner that loves Monster Bass. She wants some freebies. That's good.
Yeah. Congratulations, babe. You got some of the baits in the garage. I'll make sure I put them in your office. Okay.
I love it.
Yeah. Good job. You won. Winner, Ashley Schubert. Good work.
I'll tell you, I'm gonna close out the night. It's cool to have a community to get together on a Wednesday night and just chat, goofing off, talking about fishing. I know you talk about fishing all day long, every day for your business, and it's a continuation. But really, I think it's the personal connections we have with people, and it sums it up every week. We're talking to people. We're talking about anniversaries. I had our anniversary this month as well, and just finding friendships with other humans in this weird world we're living in. Yeah. I think that's the key to take away with the Monster Bass community. Yeah, we want to catch fish. Yeah, big fish are important, but at the end of the day, it's human beings interacting, doing something we love. So I think that's the coolest part about all this. So I appreciate everybody, and do it again next week.
Yeah, appreciate you. Thank you, Fixie, for making sure we didn't have any technical difficulties. And we'll see y'all next week. Thanks a lot.